There is a fear that many women carry in silence. It's not the fear of being alone, nor the fear of direct rejection. It's a deeper fear, more intimate, harder to recognize even within oneself. The fear of not being loved, of not being enough, of no one choosing to stay, of not deserving love just as one is. This fear doesn't shout, it isn't visible, but it drives decisions, sustains relationships that no longer work, tolerates painful indifference and heavy silences. It often disguises itself as strength or independence, but deep inside, it burns like an unanswered question. What if no one ever truly loves me? The psychoanalyst Karen Horney, one of the most important female voices in the history of psychology, spoke deeply about this kind of insecurity. She said that many women didn't learn to love themselves, but rather to be loved in order to survive. From a young age, girls are often taught to please, to adapt, not to make others uncomfortable. The message is subtle but powerful. Be good, be sweet, be desirable, and then you'll be loved. So many grow up believing that love is a reward for good behaviour, and when love doesn't come, they see it as a personal failure, not as the other person's lack, but as a flaw within themselves. Maybe I'm not good enough, pretty enough, interesting enough, worthy. When someone fears not being loved, they constantly look for external proof of their worth. And the strongest proof of all is another person's love. That's why, when someone shows interest, it becomes addictive. And when someone pulls away, that distance feels like deserved punishment. It's not just about wanting to be with someone. It becomes a need for someone else to confirm your worth. And that's when the relationship stops being healthy, because it's no longer love. It becomes a battle to validate your own existence. Karen Horney spoke about what she called the neurotic need for affection. It's that excessive need to be loved, accepted, desired. That turns into an emotional trap. Why neurotic? Because it's no longer based in the present or in the reality of the relationship. It's rooted in a deep emotional wound. A wound that says, if no one loves you, you don't exist. If no one chooses you, you're not worthy. From there, a woman might stay in cold, damaging or empty relationships, not because she doesn't know she deserves better, but because the fear of not being loved is stronger than her intuition, her reason, or her dignity. Many women, when they feel this fear, begin to over-adapt, to give more than they receive, to prove they are worth loving. They become super available, super understanding, super patient, super everything, but deep inside, they feel invisible. And the saddest part, that doesn't bring love, it brings indifference, because someone who doesn't know how to love also doesn't know how to value that sacrifice, but they don't see it that way. They interpret it as a sign that they haven't done enough, so they give more. They empty themselves further, until they are emotionally exhausted. The fear of not being loved also often disguises itself as self-sufficiency. Some women, to protect themselves from this pain, build an image of strength. I don't need anyone. But that's not freedom, it's armor. Karen Horney said that behind the facade of independence, there is often deep emotional insecurity, because the fear of not being loved doesn't just hurt. It also makes you hide. It stops you from showing your vulnerability. It prevents you from being seen in your entirety. And so, the thing you most long for, real love, becomes impossible, because no one can love a person who never truly shows herself. Have you ever been with someone who doesn't choose you, but also doesn't let you go? Someone who comes and goes, who gives and takes, who confuses you more than they care for you. That kind of relationship is the most dangerous for someone with a fear of not being loved, because it constantly reinforces the wound. Every time they ignore you, you think, of course, I'm not enough. Every time they return, you think, maybe this time they'll love me. And so, You live in a cycle of anxiety, dependence, and broken self-worth. Karen Horney said these people tend to stay where love feels like a struggle because it's the only kind of love they've ever known, but that doesn't mean it's the kind they truly need. Part of healing this fear, Horney said, is to question the beliefs we were taught about love, because many women were taught that love must be earned, that someone staying is proof you've done it right, that if someone leaves, it's because you did something wrong, and that to avoid being alone, you must always compromise. But real love is not a transaction. It's not earned or negotiated. Healthy love is a free, mutual, and ongoing choice. And it starts with yourself. Healing the fear of not being loved is not easy, because it means going back to the beginning, to that little girl who once believed she had to be perfect so she wouldn't be left, to that teenager who thought her body or silence were the key to being liked, to that woman who today looks in the mirror and doubts her worth unless someone says, "I love you." Karen Horney insisted on the importance of reconnecting with authenticity, with the real self, of stopping the habit of pleasing others just to begin fully inhabiting yourself. And that begins when a woman becomes her own safe place, when she stops chasing love and begins to invite it from her center, from her truth, from her power. This isn't about no longer desiring love. It's about no longer depending on love to exist. It's about beginning to ask, what kind of love am I really looking for? Does that love truly see me, or just fill a void? Can I be with myself without feeling like something is missing? Am I searching for someone to love me? Or am I trying to escape my own loneliness? These questions don't have instant answers, but they open the door to a more conscious life, where love is not a struggle or sacrifice, but a meeting. When a woman begins to heal her fear of not being loved, something within her shifts. She no longer settles for crumbs. She no longer begs for affection disguised as attention. She no longer gives everything away in the hope of being chosen. She begins to set boundaries, to choose from abundance, not from lack, to show herself fully, even when it's scary, and to understand that someone who can't love her entirely is not a loss, but a liberation. There are wounds that can't be seen, but they shape an entire life. The fear of not being loved is one of them, but you are not alone. That fear doesn't define your destiny. It simply points to the place where you most need to embrace yourself. As Karen Horney said, real growth begins when we stop pretending and dare to be who we truly are. That's where real love begins, the kind that doesn't depend on someone else, the kind that comes from within, the kind that doesn't need disguises, the kind that, when it arrives from the outside, finds not a void, but a home.